Good evening. Today, before me, I am going to be interviewing Commissioner Marcus Muhammad. My name is Trenton Bowens, and I'm a City Commissioner for the City of Benton Harbor. Good evening, Commissioner Muhammad.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Well, just last week, you launched your campaign to become the next mayor for the City of Benton Harbor. How are you feeling after that announcement?
Well, I first of all consulted with my family, prayed about it, got a lot of input from the residents, and the support was overwhelming. So I felt really good to make the announcement, and now that we are beginning to get in campaign mode, I'm even more excited.
My first question that I have for you is, how long have you lived in Benton Harbor?
Well, I was actually born in Niles, Michigan, and I moved to Benton Harbor in the 5th grade. And I attended Martindale Elementary School, and my teacher was Mr. Triplett. But I went on to graduate from Benton Harbor High School, played on the 2 state final teams, 92, 93, and I was blessed to get a scholarship to DePaul University.
You've been in politics for over 4 years now. What made you want to run for city commissioner and now mayor?
The political landscape needed to be updated. I thought that we were a city that was in the 2000s, the new millennium, but operating as if we were in the 80s. And I said that if I ever came back home, I would move into the city of Benton Harbor because I wanted to transform and change the political landscape and reality of Benton Harbor.
What are some of the main issues Benton Harbor faces? And as mayor, how do you think you can fix them?
Well, I think that the major issue that's impacting Benton Harbor is a lack of participation from the electorate and the residents. And when you elect somebody to office, once they get in is when you really should monitor. And I think that if we enlighten the electorate, which is the first thing I would want to do, because when you have an enlightened electorate, then you can have an educated and informed resident that can put people in office that will do the will of the people. I think that it's common knowledge that people know that Benton Harbor has had a dismal economic system from a government perspective for years. And now we're under emergency management from the state of Michigan, and we're on our way out. However, now is the perfect time to have a mayor in place to work with the city commission, to work with the city manager in order to make sure that the city of Benton Harbor never slides back into a financial crisis.
In the newspaper, you were quoted that you have a 10-year plan. Can you tell us a little bit about your 10-year plan and how it will work in Benton Harbor? And just a few things about your 10-year plan, because a lot of residents, they want to know what's in it for them. You know, they've been told, elect me, elect me, elect me by previous leaders, and they say they never got anything. So what's in it for them? How is your plan inclusive of the residents? And how will they benefit from you if you're mayor of Benton Harbor?
Looking at our city and looking at the most immediate problems, we wanted to address the issue in 3 phases. The first phase, we wanted to totally rehabilitate and redevelop the downtown in order to attract business. I can see Benton Harbor's downtown with retail stores, outlets, and it being a bustling and robust business district. And I would like to see more residents participate in that business economy, because I think that the mom and pop shop, the small business, which is the largest employer in America, can not only bring about a revitalization of our financial state, but it can also provide jobs for the residents. Phase 2, we want to revitalize the neighborhoods where we have a registered block club in each ward. And through the Whirlpool donation agreement, we can provide funding every year for block clubs to buy snow blowers, rakes, and supplies so we can begin to beautify the inner city. And we can not only have summer youth employment, but we can also have winter youth employment where we can employ students and young people to shovel walkways, to shovel snow, help out seniors who may not be in the health condition to get out and shovel in 10-degree weather. Phase 3, I would like to see manufacturing come back to Benton Harbor, where we can provide tax incentives and attraction where we can build up our workforce.
You know, I hear, and I got a question. Benton Harbor is told that we have our own airport. We're right on water. We have railroad. And we're not promoting ourselves as the place to grow and invest your business or promoting those assets that we have. As mayor, what will you do to promote Benton Harbor as the place to be and want to invest in?
Well, I think that number one, we have to get out and shake hands. As I watched the World Conference or the U.S. Conference of Mayors, there was no representation from the city of Benton Harbor. You have a World Conference of Mayors, which gives you a global opportunity to interact with other mayors of other major cities that have business connections, and possibly we can find some investors just by talking to others that will be willing to come to Benton Harbor, that's sitting in between Detroit and Chicago, and invest dollars.
How would you provide reassurance to the residents of Benton Harbor that you would bring stability? You have residents that travel on our neighborhoods and you see blocks demolished and everything. How would you provide them the assurance that you'll bring stability to the city government and to the city of Benton Harbor, as well as reestablish neighborhoods and build our neighborhoods back to what they used to be?
Well, the city of Benton Harbor recently received $14 million under the Housing Urban Development Grant, NSP 1 and 2, which is Neighborhood Stabilization Program. And unfortunately, those dollars, as you know, were redirected to special interests to complete projects that were not in the inner city. And being the mayor of Benton Harbor, I would be sitting at the gatepost to make sure that those millions or those dollars go to rebuild the inner city of Benton Harbor and not into the hands of those who have benefited from the misfortune and the statistics that Benton Harbor currently has.
It was a topic that was one of the biggest topics in the past 3 months. It was a great one. It was the city income tax. The voters rejected that. What do you think the city income tax would have done? I see, getting a lot of complaints that you drive on Jefferson Hill and you're driving through the equator, or the water pipes are freezing because the city infrastructure is so bad. What do you think the city income tax would have done to help the citizens of Benton Harbor? And do you think it would have scared businesses away? And why do you think the voters did not vote for it?
I think that if our residents were more informed, because they didn't know. And usually when people know better, then that gives them the power to do better. And I think that if we really make the case, and I think also from circumstances where our people can see, the residents, that if we don't do for ourselves first and not depend on others, then we'll find that that's our way of survival. But I think that the city income tax is definitely must be revisited. Many have been kind of discombobulated because the fact that now we're taking our loan. And if you look at who we're paying Now, when I say we, I mean the residents. The state of Michigan took $640,000 off of the top of the loan and left $70,000 in interest. Berrien County took over $500,000 off of the top. So really, only $1 million, a little over $1 million, reached Benton Harbor, and that money was already spent. So the loan was not a solution. The loans was just a means to an end in order to pay off businesses. But in terms of to be a resource for the residents, it was not. And Lord forbid if you roll the loan over or you default on it, then now you're being garnished. And that's where the homeowner is left in a lurk, because if the loan is defaulted on, then now it's in court or bankruptcy, then now millages are imposed on the resident, and then people begin to lose their homes.
Together we stand, divided we fall. How would you, under your leadership, unite this community as it's being so divided? How would you unite Benton Harbor?
I think that it takes a special kind of individual that can see the perspective of other people and without being disagreeable, even though I may disagree. And I think that when you have someone who can look for the best in people and try and pull the best from every group, whether it be Christian, whether it be non-for-profit, whether it be religious, whether it be business, whether it be resident. But if we're trying to pull on the best of what each faction or each group has to offer, as opposed to settling on the worst part, I think that's a method and a formula to bring all groups together, because if everybody does a little, then nobody has to do a lot. From every facet, and have some type of symposium so we can begin to forge and build relationships in order to collectively move Benton Harbor forward. I want to involve the youth, which is the largest population of Benton Harbor. I would like to develop a mayoral team advisory council where we have a group of young people to advise that office. Because one thing that I have learned, that one person cannot do it by themselves, even if it's the mayor. That's why we need a mayor that can bring people together, so as a whole we can build or rebuild Benton Harbor.